Hello everyone, welcome to another office hours. Give me 1 second to set everything up. Okay, awesome. Is there anything in particular you guys would like to see today? Any questions or any assets you would like us to generate? If not, I can just go through my recent assets and show you some features that we have. So one of my most recent assets, I generated this record player, as you can see, and I colored it with the fill tool, which you can do by clicking fill color, selecting a mesh, which you can then adjust the color, and we also have color effects here on the bottom. So you can choose from metallic, glossy, mirror, glossy metal, transparent, and matte. And once you save that, you can download it as an FBX, and this will automatically download the asset with the colors applied. Hi Cal, if you have one you'd like to generate, please let us know, give us suggestions. And I can show you what it looks like in Blender. So I've imported that here. And I've created this little setup. So this is what I usually do for social media if I want to animate the assets. So here we have the record player. I like to put it in a collection just so it's easier to have it all organized. And as you can see, the materials are imported along with the asset. So once the meshes are, imported, you can adjust them or just join all of them like so. And here I've done an animation of it rotating. So hopefully you'll be able to see that on a future post. Make sure to, check our social media. Can you also discuss textures? Do you have to import with file first? So for texturing, we have, give me 1 second. So for texturing, we have an example here. So you'll have to generate the model first. And once you've generated the model from your input image, you can go over to automatic texturing. And we have 3 styles to choose from: image projection, stylized, and PBR. So for characters like this, where you have a view of them straight on, or for characters or objects, if you have a view of them straight on and you have the front and back view, we highly recommend image projection, because the way this works is it takes the front and back view that you've uploaded for the textures, and it essentially just, projects onto the model. So this is best if you have a straight on view for your input images or for your textures. For stylized, this is for a more kind of cartoony look, and if you don't have an orthographic view such as this, so this just applies colors onto your model and applies one color for each mesh. So this model that I'm showing is Ultra. It's a fairly simple character, but he does have a lot of accessories like the belt, the tie, the patch, and the backpack, and I wanted all of that to be captured in the final model. And our last option for texturing is PBR. So this is for more realistic textures like wood, metal, and fabric. And this also applies normal maps onto your model. So if you have any realistic textures that you want to apply to your model, then PBR is the way to go. So we have an example here of PBR. As you can see, some of the details, like the scratches on the door, are very realistic, and that is because of the normal maps that were applied. And here it is against the input image. And for image projection, it really depends on the quality of your texture image, because that just applies it directly onto your model, like so. You can also use the fill color tool to texture your models, just like I showed for the record player. So this is one example. So for this one, it's actually gone through many iterations, so you can see all the versions here under history. So my original model was generated with 53,000 polygons. So that's the poly count. And so I iterated it because my input image had a little typo. I wanted it to say arcade, and of course it generated just like the input image, so there's a little typo in the model as well. So I iterated that using our iterate model feature, and I encircled the area that I wanted to edit, and I typed in fix the spelling of arcade. And once that was done iterating, here's the final result. So that saves as a separate version, which is really helpful for version control. If you'd like to go to a previous version, it's always saved here. you can also see the original input image that you've uploaded. Or if you used a text prompt, you can find that as well here. And so I colored the model using the fill color tool. And again, you can just select a mesh and choose your color over here. You can also sample from your input image. So what this does is you can color pick from the image by clicking on the area. And once you select your mesh, that color gets applied to the mesh. Is there always a charge for iteration? So yes, there is a 1 credit charge for iterations. But I think this feature is really helpful because not only can you edit your models, you can also add on to them. So for example, if I wanted to add something to this model, for example, if I wanted a basketball on the top for whatever reason, then I can just upload an image of that basketball, say add it to the top of the arcade game and submit, and that will generate a new mesh with the basketball on top. Let me see if I can find an example. So this is an example of that. So we started with this, and I wanted to change his hat to something completely different. So what I did was I used the iteration feature, uploaded a photo of the crown, and described my changes, and now I have another version of my model. So you can also download these separately, and you'll have essentially 2 separate models, which I think is pretty useful. And for those of you that, how does the merge function work? Okay, so for merging meshes, you can select the meshes of your asset. And usually when it's generated, especially in high or ultra, there will be a lot of different separate meshes. And what you can do is either use automatic grouping, which groups your meshes automatically, or you can select them manually. This is useful for if you are texturing and you want to merge the meshes that will have the same material, so you can just drag and drop the materials onto the mesh without having to, do it individually. Or you can just group them all by clicking here to select all of the meshes, and you can click submit. And we can wait for that to, okay. So once that's been merged, you can see that it's now one mesh. And that just makes it easier to import into different programs like Blender, because as you can see, when I imported this asset onto Blender, it included all of the meshes. I joined them here, but it was like 30 different meshes. So if you'd like to merge them in the app, that makes it easier to import them into Blender. Yes, you can send the image you want to generate to our support team, and we'll try to sample that for you. And if you are, if you'll be using the texturing feature a lot or our UV unwrapping feature, we have just released a new pricing system for our add-ons. So we have monthly subscriptions to our add-ons, and this allows you to use these 3 features as much as you like within the month. So it's no longer charged per use of the feature, but you can still use our features by using the previous pricing system. Would you be able to ungroup in another program if needed? So since all of the versions are saved, what you would have to do is go to a previous version before you merged the asset and download that version. Once it's merged and you've downloaded that merged version, you can ungroup it in Blender or another program, but it might be harder. So I would suggest just downloading the previous version, which will be saved within Kaedim, and downloading that as another asset if you'd like to ungroup them. So we've just received an asset that someone wants to generate. Let me download that really quickly. Okay. Oops. So I also wanted to talk about our new create page. So we've updated our create page to be more intuitive. So we have, our usual upload box over here. You can click on this to view the input requirements to make sure you get the best possible result. And we also have our text to 2D feature here where you can send or type in a description of an image and you can generate that image. This costs no credits. Once that image is generated, you will have to go through your generation settings as usual and click generate to receive your 3D model. So let's generate this, which was sent in from one of our users. And this is pretty simple, so I'll go for a high generation, and let's just generate that. How long do you save on your site? So correct me if I'm wrong, but how Do you mean the time saved compared to traditional 3D modeling methods? So with Kaedim, we do have some case studies up on our website if you'd like to check those out. And we have a breakdown of how Upland has saved time by using Kaedim. So, for example, 70 models would have taken 245 days for traditional 3D methods, but with Kaedim, it only took 70 days. And I think as someone who isn't particularly familiar with 3D modeling or, know how to 3D model, Kaedim has been really useful for me. And I know a lot of users from our Discord as well who don't have much 3D experience. Kaedim has been a really helpful tool for them to be able to make 3D models without needing, any 3D experience. Oh, I see. How long do assets save before you delete them? So we don't have an automatic delete. So so long as you don't delete them, they'll stay here. So these are all from a while ago. I think this was around November. So yeah, so long as you don't delete them over here, they will remain in your assets page. If you do accidentally delete an asset, just let us know and we will try to recover it for you. Okay, I am waiting to receive the image that you sent, Cal, and once I have that, I will generate it. Okay, I got it. All right. So we can go into, and if you don't mind me asking, what is your use case for Kaedim? Is this for a game, 3D printing? So for this input image, I think I'll go with hi. And it looks symmetrical, so I will add in the symmetry. You can also input the height if you have any specific height for your model, and it will scale proportionally. So I'll just generate that. And you can batch generate, but the assets will not generate simultaneously. They will generate one after another. So as you can see, this one is processing, and this one will remain in queue until this is finished generating. I'm sorry, I didn't see the height that you inputted, but we'll see how the generation turns out. You can always rescale it in another program if needed. So we also have automatic UV unwrapping. And this is especially helpful if you texture a lot of your assets. So you just click UV unwrap and click unwrap. This is either 1 credit, or if you are subscribed to the add-ons plan, then you can UV unwrap an unlimited amount each month. So once you download the FBX, once you import that into Blender, you will be able to see the UV map. Let me see if I can do a quick demo of that. So here you go to import FBX. Let's find the reindeer. And we go to UV editing. And you'll see that the meshes are unwrapped. And this makes it really helpful for if you want to paint on your mesh. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, I think I'm not too familiar with texturing, so there might be, oh, I see, hold on. So yes, you'll be able to see the unwrapped UV on this panel. And you'll be able to texture your models a lot easier. If you upload 3 images, is there a primary image the program looks at? Does it matter what order the photos are uploaded? Front, side, back, does it make a difference? So no, and we do encourage you to upload multiple views of your input image. So for example here, so long as the images are showcasing the same model, front, side, and back are super helpful when generating a 3D model, and it actually ensures a more accurate model to your input image. So we do have some information about that in our input guidelines. So for example, for characters, here is an example of, multiple views. You can even add details onto the images. So here I show how the hand or the wing is detailed, how the feathers should be modeled. So as long as they show the same subject, then you can upload multiple images. So we do also automatically remove the backgrounds for the input images that you upload. Let me see if I can find an example. So here's a monochrome background, so it's pretty helpful for our system to remove the background. But we do encourage you to have a clearer or more monochrome background so that the subject stands out. For images like this, our background removal system might be able to, pull out the house, but there might be some parts that are either cut away or some parts that aren't removed, and that makes it harder to process the generation. So if you have input images like this, you can either edit them in Photoshop to make the subject clearer, or just have them in a clear background such as this. If you're prompting using Dolly or and using our generate image feature, then you can also add that to the text prompt to have a simple background, and that usually helps a lot. Okay, looks like our assets are ready. So this is the Rubik's Cube. Awesome. And we can look at the wireframe. You can also compare it to the input image, show the dimensions. Is there a way to get a refund for textures that don't work? Yes, please contact our support team either through email or through Discord, and we'll try to get the textures sorted for you and issue a refund as well. So for our texturing, please make sure to also go through our guidelines to make sure that you get the best result possible. We are working on improving our texturing system as well, so if you have any feedback, or if you'd like to send us screenshots of the texturing issues that you're having, please do. We're working on improving the texturing system, so any feedback would definitely help. So here is the finished Rubik's Cube. And as you can see, the monkey has now started processing. For projection texturing, we do suggest having a straight on view and not a perspective view like this, so that it works better. Because if we use projection texturing on an asset like this, then the angle that the input image is in is not registered by the app, and so it projects onto the model on a straight view, and the angle isn't put into consideration. We are working on a solution for that, but for now we suggest having an orthographic view like this example that we have. Yes, Avi, thank you so much. Please do send that over on Discord if you're part of our Discord, or to our email, and we'll make sure to fix the texturing for you as well. So you can also input really cartoony images like this as well, and it is able to generate a mesh from that. Or you can also do just a doodle like I did here, and that generates a pretty good mesh. And I tried the PBR on this as well. So what I did was I downloaded a plush image, and just applied it through PBR. And this is an asset that we generated on our last stream as well. Someone was asking about 2D, more 2D sketchy drawings, and if Kaedim is able to generate from that. And this was the final result. If you guys have any specific use cases as well, please make sure to share that in the chat, and I will try to, showcase the most useful features for your specific use case. Can you share how your clients monetize the assets they create from your services? I have my own ideas, but I would like to hear what others are doing. Thank you. So one thing that comes to mind is 3D printing. A lot of our clients, also do 3D printing. And one of the blockers that they have is it's really time consuming to create 3D models from scratch. So a lot of them use our service so that their customers will be able to send them, just an image that they can then put into Kaedim and 3D print. So I think 3D printing services is a good one. A lot of them also, we work with a lot of game studios, and so they mostly use Kaedim for, as a time-saving resource, and it also saves them a lot on resources as well, since by using our app and kind of streamlining the 3D modeling process, they're able to, generate a lot more assets, produce a lot more assets for their games. We're working on adding a lot more case studies to our website. Currently, we have the Upland case study, but we are working on adding case studies or more case studies to our website, so we'll send out an update when that's been released. But we are excited to share all of the case studies that we've been working on. We've been working with a lot of users that use Kaedim for a variety of use cases, like architecture, e-commerce, games, obviously, and even animation. So we're excited to share the process for those. If you haven't already seen our showcase as well, you can find that on the side menu of the assets page. So you can click showcase, or you can go to our website and click showcase over here as well. So we update this weekly, just to showcase assets that we've generated in different qualities and different poly count levels. And this just makes it easier to, it's a good visual comparison for the different generation qualities that we offer. So if you're having trouble choosing between the different generation qualities for your input images, you can check our showcase. We also have a compare qualities button over here on our create page, and this just also shows the differences between standard, high, and ultra. I do a lot of work in AR. Do you know of any customers using Kaedim for AR? Yes. Yes, so our support team has already replied. Many of our customers are using Kaedim to create AR. So the generation process is very similar to just a regular generation. And we do offer different file formats for downloads. So depending on your use case, you know, you can choose which format to download in. And if you do have a format that you don't see here, please let us know and we'll try our best to add that in as well. And I think another good feature for AR especially is our height, where you can, you know, input the height. So if you have a specific height that you need your model to be, for example, if you're generating a chair and it needs to be a specific height for your AR app, then you can just input that here, and that will make sure that your model adheres to that height. So this is another example of an iteration that I did. So this was the image that I uploaded in generation. And I think that the iteration feature is really helpful for prototyping, trying different designs. You can just, upload an image of something that you'd like to add or edit for your model. And you can find that here. And the version control feature is also really helpful. Yes, so as John mentioned, we have customer support 24/7 on Discord. If you'd like more in-depth answers to any questions that you have, please let us know on our Discord, and maybe other people that might need support as well can, learn from the threads that we have on Discord. Are there any types of assets you would like to see in particular? So our API, we highly suggest you to contact our support to set up a meeting so that we can, discuss your specific use case, and we can walk you through the API integration and the costs as well. We can work with you, to give you a quote for your specific use case. How can I get a realistic shirt on a hanger? So for clothing, just with, any generation, we highly suggest having images that show your subject clearly. Multiple views also help. So here's an example of a sweater on a hanger. If you'd like it to be as realistic as possible, we recommend submitting it in Ultra. So you can find that here. And this just ensures that you get the most accurate model to your input image, and to make sure that all the details are captured as well. And Ultra is also really good for organic inputs. So for softer materials like this sweater, or as you mentioned, a shirt, we highly recommend Ultra. Yes, as John mentioned, we offer an API to our enterprise and studio customers. Please let us know if you would like to use our API integration, and we'd be happy to help you out. We have the meeting link in the chat, and we also have it linked on our link tree, on our socials, and you can also find that in the docs as well. So you can schedule a meeting through here. Just click get a product tour, and you can schedule a meeting. Does your tech work well with real estate? For example, can I take a picture of a house from the front, side, back, and get a 3D model from it? That's a really good question. Yes, so long as you have a clear picture of the front view. Side and back view is always great to have as well. We have a few examples here. So it can be a drawing of the house, or it can be more of a standalone image. We can definitely process that. And this is an example as well of a sort of more modern house that we generated. This is a gingerbread house. I will try to add a more realistic model of a house. Currently, we only have the gingerbread house and this very modern looking house. So yes, for your input images, obviously the whole house has to be pictured in the input image, and complex backgrounds may not be processed, but you can always go ahead and try to process these images onto Kaedim. We just can't guarantee that the background will be removed properly, but you will see a preview of the background removal. So it's really easy to test to see if the images would be processed or not. I use Kaedim for architectural 3D modeling. I would like to know more about material application for a highly detailed building element, like a podium with geometric inlay. So for material application, it really depends on what kind of texturing you'd like to apply. So for example, like a podium, maybe you'd like to apply, marble, or you'd like to apply a wooden, for example, for this wooden texture. You can use PBR just by uploading an image of the texture, just like a square image. It doesn't have to be an image like this, as long as it showcases the material. You can use PBR. The modern house looks flat on the back. Is that the way I'm seeing it? Why did it process that way? So that's actually a really good question. This is why we encourage you to upload multiple views. So I've only uploaded the front. So since our we don't have an image of the back, then our algorithm kind of just fills that in. So if you'd like, a more accurate 3D model, we highly recommend uploading multiple views. If not, then our algorithm just kind of fills that in for you. and it may not always be accurate to how you envision it. So uploading multiple views such as this makes sure that, you know, the front, side, and back are all processed accurately. Is the AI able to recognize image functionality? For example, the Nutcracker. Will it recognize the Nutcracker and make it functional? So no, we currently don't have the AI does not recognize the image functionality, but the way the models are generated, let me show you. The meshes are separated. So usually the AI can recognize, you know, separate meshes, such as the arms are separate from the body, but it currently doesn't have the ability to recognize image functionality. Though that is a really good suggestion. Maybe we'll try and incorporate that in our update. But yes, currently we have the separate meshes, or if you upload a drawing, usually it pulls from the outline. So the arms are separate from the body, and the ears are also separate. And if you'd like to, you know, animate a character, we suggest having the character in a T-pose to make it easier to rig it later on. So for this one, I submitted multiple input images just to show the front, side, and back view. And this just makes it a lot easier to apply a rig if you'd like to animate your characters or your assets from Kaedim. Again, please let me know in the chat what your use cases are, so I can try my best to showcase the features that we have that would be good for your use cases. Sounds like we have a lot of interest in architecture as well, which is exciting. One thing that I would like to show that can be helpful for both architecture and game development, especially in the prototyping phase, is you can upload a floor plan such as this. I'm not an architect, but I just drew a few simple lines, and Kaedim was able to generate this 3D model just from the lines that I submitted, which I think is pretty neat. I think it's a really good tool as well for prototyping if you need a really quick, you know, game environment or a prototype for your architectural projects. I generated this in standard, so it only cost 1 credit. So it's just a really quick and easy way to generate a 3D environment. Can you specify the wall height? Yes. So how I would do that is input the height over here before you generate it. I don't think you'll be able to specify specific wall heights, but once you input the height before you generate, then all of the walls will have the same height according to whichever height you've inputted. And yes, as Constantino mentioned, we don't have a rigging functionality yet, but we are looking into this feature just because we've gotten a lot of suggestions and questions about rigging. But currently, I think the best process to make sure that all of the assets that you make with Kaedim are ready and easy to rig is to submit your input images in a T or A pose such as this. And that will make it really easy to rig. So for a character like this, for example, it might be harder to rig just because the hands aren't visible and the arms are bent, and so that might be hard for, rigging and deformities. If you guys have any suggestions as well for us, for any assets you want us to add to the showcase, please do. We're trying to, showcase a huge variety of assets. So we have both more organic assets and more hard surface. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. I can also send you guys a 3D viewer so you can see these in 3D. Let me share this asset with you. If you have any specific assets that you've seen in my assets page, please let me know and I can send over a link to share that with you. Let me know if that works. yeah, if you see any assets on this page that you'd like to see in 3D, please let me know and I can share a link in the chat. And another fun way to use our iteration feature is to request edits. Like for this one, I said make the whipped cream pointy on the top. And so that just made it a little bit more appealing. You can also use the fill color tool to generate this transparent texture. And this is a good example for our generate LODs as well. So this was originally generated with 128,000 polys, and you can see that it's very smooth and rounded. We generated LODs for around 90,000, I believe. And so you can see that some of that smoothness is gone because of the lower poly count. But this will be easier to, import into another program or use for your game. So I think we can end there. Once this finishes generating, we'll be sure to send over a link. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Discord, all of the socials, and we'll be sure to keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for coming to our stream. We hope to see you again for the next one. We're trying to do our office hour stream every week. So be on the lookout on our Discord and socials for the time and date. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye, everyone.